Welcome, Sebastian, to Metalladium Pages or website. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about this new album, about Omega Infinity, and more things related to the metal world in general. So we'll start with a common question. You released Solar Spectre in 2020 at the beginning of the pandemic. And now, 3 years later, you are presenting this undercurrent. So what can we expect from this new compared to the previous work? Can we say that this new album is your best work until today? Because many bands say that the last album is their best work.
I have to say that as well, because in my opinion, if you're not able to say that as a band about your work, then you may as well, stop making music, because you always need to push yourself. You always have to put one on top. If you don't do that, I don't know. I feel that you don't try as an artist. I read an interview with Galda from Open as Child once, where he stated, well, he was asked the same question, and he was like, okay, you know what, this new album is good, but I like the last one better. And I was like, I read this and I felt like, okay, so why should I listen to it then? Why should I buy this? It's like, you're not convinced, so I don't know. Of course, it has to be the best album, the one you release now. So,
okay. Omega Infinity is a relative new band into the metal world, because you were formed in 2018, and now you have two productions now with the last album. So what moves you to continue making music, especially with this new album, knowing that there are many fans that we resist, or that a lot of people resist over the 40 years? So that don't listen new music, just stick with the past and all records from the past.
Yeah, well, I can't help those people, I have to say. It's like I have never been one of the opinion that you stop search for music. Like many people are of the opinion, if you're of the age of mid-30s, then you stop listening to music. You only listen to the old stuff, nostalgia and everything. I have my nostalgic moments, but I also like to find new music. I like to be challenged with the music I listen. I like to be surprised. I like bands that constantly develop. I like bands like Ulver, for example, that continue to change with each album. Bands like Enslaved that have never stopped progressing in a way. And I have like a privileged position because I work in the music business. So my job is basically to listen to music all day. So I always know what's new. I know what's coming up. I listen to a lot of shit. I listen to a lot of great stuff, but I keep like finding new great stuff. And so I'm not bored. I hope this stays this way until I'm a very old man, that I continue to like to discover new music. In regards to Omega Infinity, it's the same, I would say. If we start to continue or to do things again that we already have done, it's like the first persons that will get bored are ourselves. And then I think if you stop trying, if you stop processing as a band, you start boring your listeners. I mean, obviously you have to keep some elements to get to have your identity. I think the core elements should stay the same, but you should try to change, to morph into something new with your band. That's what we try to do, and that's what we try to do with the Anticurrent, as opposed to Solar Spectre. I think Solar Spectre was kind of raw, and we didn't think about too much what we were doing then. And of course, with the second album, this changes. You start thinking about what you do, what new things you can do. You start second guessing stuff that sound similar to the first album, maybe, in order to keep it interesting. I think that's basically it, yeah.
Okay, listening around 10 times, or I think much times this new undercurrent, because I love it. The black metal
Thanks.
label is false open. It's a short concept, because this is a lot. It is everything. It's into the music. It's a lot of textures, a lot of layers, a lot of styles, and I can even say that it's a very ambitious albums in ideas, in a lot of things. So therefore, how would you classify the music Omega Infinite, sorry? And what influence do you have as a musician to create such a tremendous musical beast?
I mean, the label that we gave ourselves is void metal. We don't call it black metal, because with black metal we associate certain things, topics, subjects that we don't follow. For me, black metal is stuff like Abigor, or like Aozoth, like very orthodox things. And we are not about that. We want to explore other topics, so we call that void metal. Well, come again with the question, because I lost myself there for a moment.
Okay, so and what influence do you have as a musician to create such this album?
Yeah, of course, the influence. Well, our main topic is space, and that's also the main influence. So I can tell you about the influence that prompted me to start the project. I mean, obviously, I have to tell you beforehand that obviously both Zen and I are not new in the music business. So Zen is playing with Neoblivious Chorus, obviously. I have played for a very long time in Totgelichter. I had several projects beside that. So in terms of experience, I would say we knew what we were doing. It was the prompt to start the band was, we were inspired by space, and we wanted to do something that sounded like the blackness, the coldness of space. And in order to do that, the most logical thing was to have the musical foundation of black metal, but not with the lyrics, not with the subject. Yeah, because our influences come from somewhere else. Influences are, for example, I'd say video games like Mass Effect. Other bands like Konsu is a very big influence. Don't know if you know about Konsu. That's the band of the brother of the Keep of Kalessin guitar player.
Okay.
Very great space black metal band. A bit more progressive, I would say. And the thing that really prompted me to go into space is a program called Space Engine that you can find on Steam. That's basically a space simulator. Like it's not a game. It's like you can you've got the solar system. You can move the camera. You can go out of the galaxy, and everything is like seamless. And I think every star that has been cataloged so far is in the program, and beyond what we know, the program simulates. And so you can go on and on forever. You can travel out of the galaxy, you can zoom through space. And when Totgelichter was on ice in 2017, that was basically the point where I stopped playing in a band. But I didn't want to stop making music, so I knew I had to do something new. I didn't know about the topic yet. I didn't know about the band name. I didn't even know that I would do it with Zen. Well, that came shortly afterwards. But at that time, I was trying out this program very, very much. And I was like, I have to do something that sounds, like space.
Yeah.
So that was a huge inspiration, Space Engine.
Yeah. Okay. So related with this aspect, the undercurrent, I denoted that Omega Infinity brings from a lot of past albums. It's normally and pushes something new ahead, as you said. So, do you think that that this chaos of the pandemic and the war influenced you to do a more challenging album than the previous one with you? Because usually the musicians have a lot of connections with the external and internal details of the environment in general.
Yes, but when the anti-current, I mean, that might shock you. The anti-current is finished for, like, the music and everything is finished since 4 years.
Okay.
So way before the pandemic.
Okay.
It was, I think, Solar Spectre and the Anti-Current, the music was written and recorded within the time span of 3 months. So I can say that now. What stopped us, I mean, obviously with Solar Spectre, we were applying at labels, see who wanted to do it. Then we found a home with Season of Mist, but it took some time. And then we did that with the complete album, with everything already finished. But then you have like cycles of promotion. They have to prepare the production, everything. So Solar Spectre came out, I think I would say, a year after we had everything done. And then, yeah, we wanted to, focus on the promotion of that album. We did interviews, a lot of promotion stuff. And when that album was done, we wanted to start with the second one, or then wanted to start with the second one because only vocals were missing. And then you had the pandemic, because I think Solar Spectre came out on the first day of the lockdown here in Germany. I remember that. It was a Friday. It was supposed to go out on Friday. And in this week, the lockdown started. And I don't know if you remember or if you heard about that. Zen is living in Melbourne, and they have I think they had the most extreme lockdown like anywhere. You weren't supposed to go out except for grocery shopping. If you did, the police would stop you, ask you where you went. So basically, he couldn't go to the recording studio, and for a very long time. So that was what held us up for so long. And I think at one point we said, fuck everything. We are buying you we buy you a vocal booth so we could do the recordings at home. And but he had no equipment and he couldn't go out and get the equipment. So it took even longer then. And when everything was finally finished, Season of Mist obviously wanted to do vinyls again, but the vinyl production time have gone up. Like, basically before the pandemic, you would do vinyls in, I think, 6 weeks, and now it was like times that you have for production like half a year and more. So if you ask us why if it was finished for 4 years and it came out only now, it's like because the pandemic has shifted a lot of things.
Yeah.
So so ask me again in a few albums if the pandemic has influenced our music, because the anti-current is definitely not influenced by the pandemic. Because,
more like this environment.
But we have a few albums. Okay, I gave myself away. There is stuff to come. So a third album is definitely finished. Zen will start vocals as soon as he can, and there is more stuff. So
Okay. So now, talking about this subject of leaving influence and feeling what happens internally and externally for a musician, because normally for the musicians, many musicians that say that they don't have a direction when writing music and carried away by the feelings that they have in the moment when they create the music. So for you, how do the parts of producing an album connect with the idea of sensation? Could we say that the music is a concept thinking, or the music is a concept not thinking?
Both. You know, one of the best albums of all time that I think has ever been written is a Lamp Lies Down on Broadway from Genesis, which is 1.5 hours of, it's a big concept album. And you have from the start to the beginning, this is not an album where you can say, okay, I'm listening this song now, or I skip the next one, I take this one. You have to listen as a whole, you know? And I think this way of songwriting has definitely had an influence on me. So I always tell people I don't write songs, I write albums. I think of writing music as like creating puzzle pieces. And in the end, I have to put these puzzle pieces together and it needs to paint a picture. So each riff, each song is a puzzle piece that has its place somewhere. So I do get carried away when I write music. It's like, okay, this part takes me to another part. But in terms of, I would say, in terms of the dynamics of the flow of an album, I know where I want to go. I know, okay, now I had a fast song, so the next one I need to give people a little break here. So if you look at the album flow, I think you will find that the Anticurrent, also Solar Spectre, and also maybe the next albums when they come out will have kind of a flow in terms of dynamics. The tempos change, the arrangements will change. So yeah, a bit of both. It's a conscious effort to direct everything that I write into a certain direction so that it fits with the next parts. But if, for example, if I'm exploring melodies and atmospheres, this is where I get carried away. Sometimes I accidentally press a button on the synth, and then I was like, okay, that's cool. So I explore that. But I know the whole atmosphere will be like either dark or a bit more calm or whatever. I know that before.
Okay. Well, in general, this new album is quite diverse from black metal, from all black metal songs, melodic song, heavy stuff, a lot of technique in all this kind of progressive stuff in all instruments. I feel sometimes, as I wrote in the review, that you have something industrial and electronic parts that reminds me, as I said in the review, of like Thorns from the 90s, from the Norwegian band. So I like how somehow most of the songs come with a challenging riffs and schemes in this new album. It's almost impossible not to concentrate on each one when we listen to most of the songs. So how do you manage to achieve this technical or a lot of influence there with all vibes and industrial matters in such a world that prefers all simple and just hear the music by singles? As you told me, you work in the music industry, and now the promotion aspect is just by singles.
Yeah, that's very hard because it's very hard to choose a single because, yeah, I see everything is in place. You know, the whole album is in place. You couldn't change the track order. It doesn't work. I remember that one person, when reviewing the first no, it wasn't Solar Spectre. It was the last album of my previous band, Totgelichter. Someone wrote a review, and in the review he mentioned that at first he didn't like the album, and then he realized that the whole song structure was like it was random. He had it on shuffle, and when he was listening to it from start to the beginning as it was planned, he was like, okay, so that's what's supposed to happen. I get it now. And then he said, it's a great album. And I think it's the same here. I admit I have problems to decide singles because, you know, every song in a way is is important for the whole album. I mean, obviously you can't take Voices from the End of Time with 12-minute running time. That's impossible. I know that that's not a single. I know that. So I also know that the Alpha is not a single because of the chaotic start. It's like more of an intro. But apart from that, it's hard to choose, and I don't do it alone. I ask, of course, Zen puts forward his favorites, and I also ask the label what they think could be the best single. And for the Anti-Current, it was like it made sense to everyone that we have to have this 3 singles, because it also presents most of the elements that you're going to hear on the whole album. The industrial stuff, fast stuff, slow stuff, female guest vocals. Well, we have 3 on this album, but it was not intentional. It was like it did fit. It had to be like, yeah.
Yeah, well, for me it's very difficult to pick just one song. It's impossible from this new album.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, we are very close to end this interview, Sebastian, and for that reason, what are the future plans that the band has for this new album? Perhaps you are preparing more videos to promote this new album, perhaps a European tour, because now it's possible to do a tours more because the pandemic is off. So American tour, or perhaps who knows, a Latin American tour in the near future.
I'm afraid that's not going to happen in the very near future, because it's like this is like a studio project.
Okay.
Nebular Caris are touring again, so Zen will have limited time. And then you have we are only 2 people. Like Zen is living in Australia. I'm living in Germany. I mean, if we really put the effort into it, we might find musicians that would tour with us, but then you still have the problem. We're a very niche band, I would say. Like, it's extreme metal. It's not that you go out and every promoter wants to, hey, yeah, we book you. That's not going to happen. So we have to put effort in it. And yeah, then you have the problem. Zen is coming from Australia, so we can't play for nothing. You know, there is cost. I think at this point it's nearly impossible that we ever play live. But who knows? What will happen in the future. So as for the plans, yeah, we will promote this. We will promote it with interviews. And then we will work on the next album, which is hopefully coming out far sooner than the Anti-Current came out after Solar Spectre. As I said, the music is already written and produced. All that's missing is vocals. We even have guests. So there are even guest vocals for the next album. But I'm not going to spoil anything here. Everything in due time.
Okay. So into this aspect, when I'm talking about from this undercurrent, one of the most things that I saw from Disney one is the cover art. It's an amazing one. I really love and express completely the sensation that you say that's something sci-fi, like the Mass Effect cinematographies in this part when you play the game. So it's a lot of things. So what is the main focus of this, the Undercurrent, with the name Omega Infinity and the cover art? Which words relate all these concepts? Just space, just perhaps a scientific movie, or perhaps you have, but you say that is void metal, but perhaps you have more a more strictly way to understand all this concept in lyrically speaking.
Well, the cover artwork was done by Adrien Bosson, who is like he does many cover artworks. He also did the cover artwork for the aforementioned Konsu, for example. So he's very familiar with space topics, and we told him the concept of the album. We told him what the Anti-Current is, and basically the Anti-Current is about the beginning of the universe at the Big Bang, and it travels through time, and it's supposed to end with the implosion of the universe. I mean, there are several theories how the universe is going to end, and one is that every star will die and turn into a black hole. Everything will kind of implode and then you have only black holes that attract each other until you have only one supermassive one. So basically, the whole mass of the whole universe is gathered at one point, which I think could be a starting point for a new Big Bang and a new universe. So you have, you have the cycle. And we told Adrian this concept or this thought, and he came up with this. We call that white hole on the cover because it's not a black hole. It's not a star. It's basically something, maybe the void beyond existence that pulls everything in. Because if you look closely, it's not collecting stars. It's collecting galaxies. So it's the concept of the whole universe imploding in itself.
Nice.
And yeah, I
Nice.
think it's very cool.
Yeah, very, very cool. And perhaps do you have perhaps do you take some books to create this concept? Because we have a Carl Sagan, we have Stephen Hawking hablando de voids in the space. Perhaps did you take some books and reference?
Mostly the references and influences are movies and video games. There are, of course, also books, but I couldn't tell you one off the top of my head. I would rather say it's like, Mass Effect is definitely an influence. Video games, I play a lot of them, mostly space related because, I like it. Movies like Interstellar or Event Horizon or Sunrise. So that's kind of a whole a whole world to suck your influence in. So sometimes I feel like a sponge, and then I take everything in, and I want to convey a small part of it into music. But it's really only a small part because there is so much great movies in space. The Martian is also a great movie. So movies and video games, I can say. That's I can speak for Adrian. I don't know what influenced him. I think he was trying to focus on the music and the idea that we gave him. Maybe there is more, but he's a very talented guy. If you check his other artwork, you can see there are, a lot of influence in there. But I can't tell you where because it's like, it's his world.
No worry. That's a curious thing that you say this, that you are talking about Even Horizon. When I finished completely here this last album, I felt the presence of Even Horizon. I don't know why, but when you said really, that's
because it's a great movie.
Yeah,
like it's an eerie movie. It's a world. A Dead Space is another video game I would say is an influence.
Talking about the black holes there, and
the horror elements. We want Zen always calls us uneasy listening, and I think we want to give an experience that shakes you. It's like it's not supposed to be all nice melodies. We also want this eerie, creeping atmosphere. And we take our influence from movies with horror elements and the vastness, just the vastness of space and how small you are. So that's what, in a way, what the pale blue dot speech of Carl Sagan, of course. It's everything paints the whole picture, and we try to paint our own picture influenced by those elements. I think you can say that.
Great to know. And in the second question, in the first question you told me that you work in the music industry. With a lot of you hear a lot of music because you work in this industry. So what kind of work do you do? Perhaps you are a reviewer, interviewer like me, or perhaps you are a music work like you perhaps have other kind of jobs. And related to this, how many records do you have behind you? Because I see a lot of records, perhaps more than 3,000, 4,000. I don't know.
No, I think it's maybe below 2,000. I would say. I know people who have rooms full, like tens of thousands, and I'm not even collecting vinyl. I have to admit, it's just CDs. because vinyl, I don't have the space. So what do? Yeah, I work at a German distributor.
Okay.
And I'm a label manager there, which means labels like Van Records or 20 Buckspin, Dark Descent. I take care of the distribution in Germany. So I try to stay on top of the releases that they give me. I try to listen to what they have. So and of course I also try to check each Friday which new singles are there, which bands are releasing something, what's the competition, stuff like that. So yeah, I'm not doing reviews. I'm not a paid musician. I do a more, you could say, more boring job, but in the end it's not, because yeah, I do what I love, so I can say that.
It's a curious thing for me, because when I see the set list, bueno, the list, the song list from this new album, track list from this new album, the two covers from Sir Bliss and the Emperor. Well, why do you put these two covers in this new album? What these covers means to you? Because I think this is the first time that I hear from a band that put a cover from Sir Bliss, because mostly bands of black metal and extreme metal play Mayhem, in Emperor, that's okay. Other no well-known bands, but Sir Bliss is very curious. That's why I'm curious.
Sir Bliss is, I know Andras for a long time. I think I met him first in 2005, and it's like we always had a little bit of contact over the years. And Sir Bliss is one of those underrated bands, I think, which are so great. If you listen to their discography, it's like I wouldn't say they have a bad album. It's like everything's great, and there are songs that just stick in your head. So Night Journey was one that's like the hymn. And I wanted to cover it because I don't know why. I thought I could see how I could do it in an Omega Infinity way. I think that's the reason. I just wanted to do it, and I'm not even sure if it's a cover, because Andras joined us on it and sang his own song in a new version, which is kind of cool. So I mean, there are a lot of other things that I could have chosen. Obviously Zen has a bit of saying in it as well. He wants to do stuff. We thought about doing, for example, a Nick Cave cover, because we wanted to explore his darkness in another way. We are going to have a surprise cover version that's not related to the Anticurrent. I can spoil that now, but I'm not going to tell you when and what. But we have a surprise version, a standalone single that will come later this year. It's a cover which is recorded. We have a guest vocalist, which will also, who will also be a surprise, I think. And this will be something completely different. I think for us, it's a way to reinterpret songs that we feel a strong connection with, great songs. And the Emperor song is, I think it's the best song ever that they have ever written, because it's like brutal, it's fast, it's epic, and it has a completely bonkers songwriting. And my wife is singing on it. So the guest vocalist is Marta, with whom I had the singer of Totgelichter. But yeah, we have been married for a long time, even before Totgelichter. So yesterday we celebrated our 21st anniversary. So it's quite some time. And well, that sounds a bit cheesy, but we fell in love over Emperor while headbanging to Entrance Imperium. So that was a special song for me. I had to do it, and she had to sing on it.
Great to know. Great to know. Great. Well, Sebastian, the sad times arrived at this interview. I hope you enjoyed this one like me doing what. As I said, congratulations on this new album. It's a great one.
Thanks.
This new album blew my mind in always. I never, I never think about this band when I listen for the first time this album. Really amazing work. So perhaps we want to add something to your new Latin American fans and Metallerium followers.
Thank you for supporting Omega Infinity, and check out the Anticurrent when it comes out next week on February 24th.